Now, take a second and think about the last time you sat in complete silence. No phone, no music, no nicotine, no caffeine, no food, no scrolling. Just your own thoughts. If that sounds uncomfortable, this video might just be for you. And I've leaned on a lot of different things during my time of growing up and understanding myself, and I still do have my own issues. But from my past experiences, from leaning on weed and nicotine especially, I've seen how easy it is to reach for something instead of dealing with what I'm feeling. And that vulnerability has completely made it to where I've misunderstood myself whenever I'm growing out of the poor habits that I've built as I've been turning into an adult and just growing out of my own skin in a way that I'm more comfortable in facing issues and dealing with them on the front hand that they are provided for me in. And as I've grown out of those bad habits and tried creating better ones for myself, I've started to notice a really bad pattern in today's world. That's that everything is leaning into being a consumption loop. One thing leads to another, and it's constantly just grabbing for your attention. And unfortunately, that's the reality that we live in. Everything's a competition for your attention. And now I may be saying this off of a literal media app from YouTube, where you might be giving it your attention or just playing it as sort of a background sound for yourself. But a lot of different things have been grabbing for people's attention in a net negative way. And I hope to be a net positive for other people. And I'm talking about things like waking up and immediately reaching for caffeine instead of maybe a water or stretching. I know a ton of people don't do that. I didn't for myself for the longest of time, or even just brushing your teeth. And people can think of it as a way of escapism. I mean, most people see breaks at work as a way to reach for nicotine. I talk to people at the place that I work at all the time now, and they're constantly having to go on their smoke break as soon as that 15-minute comes up. And stress after work, a lot of people use different things like weed or another kind of thing like alcohol to try to basically forget about the day or move on past it instead of doing something good for themselves. And I don't necessarily see this as a bad thing, but during dinner, most people have to watch something. It almost feels awkward or just weird whenever you don't have something playing, just constantly giving you that dopamine hit that there's something going on in the background, like YouTube or your favorite TV show or a movie. And even when you're going to bed, most people have their phone right next to them, ready to have that notification blasting on. So you're checking it and seeing that blue light hitting your dome, and you're immediately scrolling again. And that becomes a complete cycle for your attention, and it takes away a lot of what you have in this life. And in the modern life, everything is designed to be that way. Everything becomes convenient, appealing, and that's exactly how it's designed. You don't have to be following any sort of conspiracy theory to understand that. But as long as you can acknowledge that most products nowadays and platforms are competing for your attention, there's a way that you can break out of that cycle and put your time, the very little much that you have on this earth, to something that's a positive for yourself and maybe even the people around you. And one of the things that changed for me, especially in that entire aspect of my life, of constantly being put into that dopamine cycle and that attention grabbing constant that I put myself in, was things like stopping all of the constant consumption. I started building a life that was surrounded by good things that I felt comfortable with after slowly building myself around. Like going to the gym and being able to get that natural dopamine hit of knowing that I put in work that I'm going to be proud of because it's going to pay off tomorrow. Or investing in the same way, how I'm putting my money to something and treating it like a bill now, and then being happy with my results later when I have money for the things that I'd like to spend it on that maybe doesn't come very quickly. Or reading, like, even just a news article that I actually find some sort of, not necessarily hopium in, but more so something that I'm interested in. And even like these YouTube videos, I enjoy taking my time out of my day on my days off and being able to make something for you guys so that I can actually have something come off of my chest and something that I feel like I'm putting my time into that feels like I'm providing for a better future for maybe myself or even someone else out there. And even simple things like just walking outside a little bit, get that vitamin D and get your legs moving and move around that lactic acid from sitting down or laying down all day, and it makes you feel a lot better. It also helps with getting better sleep, and you don't feel like that massive cortisol spike all the time inside of your body. You start to feel a little bit better about yourself too. And at the end of it, it really just matters about reducing stress and mitigating or at least minimizing the amount of retention that other things have over how you go about your day to day. I mean, you want to be in control of yourself in all reality. So you might as well try to grab those reins for yourself and lead yourself into that reality. And things like this take time. Don't stress about it or even boost your ego to a point where you lose control again. I've had that happen to myself in the past, and I've had to restart back from square one too. I'm speaking from experience on these things. I'm not telling you to go get inside of a deprivation tank and starve your body out from things that you need, like water or real rest. It really is just one step at a time when it comes to changing your life in a positive way with this. You can start by maybe as simply as drinking a little bit more water throughout the day, or like how I started with quitting weed and eventually quitting nicotine with it so that I built a better stress response rather than reaching for the pen or reaching for the geek bar that just made things worse for me. It really is just falling back on better habits rather than worse ones for yourself. I mean, if you constantly get hooked on things and you know you have an addictive personality like I've had, then maybe staying away from things that are already supernaturally addictive, like nicotine, like weed, like booze, or going out to the bar, it's best to just stay away. I mean, I'm not saying it's all going to be bad. You can go to the bar every now and then. Heck, I went to the bar just over 4th of July weekend, and it was probably years before I'd even gone and done anything like that before. And I had a blast. And that's a great thing to have, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to go the next weekend or even the next. I probably don't plan on going for a few months at least because I know that that's not something that's going to be in my best interest for future me. And I think other people should realize these things too. Because if you build your whole personality around being out of control of your own life and letting other things control you, do you even really have a personality yourself at all? I know I've met some of my old high school friends that have quite literally spent their entire adulthood lives building this relationship off of being completely out of control of themselves and so addicted that they've gotten DUIs to the point that they can't even drink anymore without going to jail. They have to have one of those like pieces of electronic thing in your car, a breathalyzer that you have to blow into that sends data somewhere else so that you can positively go home and not be under the influence under any circumstance. And I'm not going to throw any names out there, dish or shell anybody out, but I saw one of these guys at the bar over that weekend that I went out and had some drinks with a buddy of mine on 4th of July. And it turns out he's still at the same bar that I saw him in years ago, and he's still doing the same thing, except now with multiple DUIs, he can't go anywhere and actually have anything to drink. This dude is so addicted. He's literally drinking zero alcohol beer just for the feeling of it, I guess, just for the chase. And I honestly, yeah, kudos to him for being able to be in control to not drink it with alcohol because he can't, but also like people just really lose control and they can't build a self-esteem for themselves up or an ego at least of some kind to better themselves. I almost feel bad for them, but at the same time you can't really lead a horse to water and make it drink. It just kind of chooses what it does. That's all you really can do is hope that they do something for the better for themselves. But all in all, when you get addicted to something so bad that it controls your life, You have to come to the forefront and realize that you are no longer in control, but you do have the ability to take it back. And that's something that I really had to lean on whenever I was escaping weed and escaping nicotine, because those are two of the truly most addictive things that I've had in my life. Aside from things like these video games, at least I can take some sort of positive out of these things. But things like nicotine and weed, or even alcohol for a lot of people, it's not gonna be a positive for 99% of people. There are the few people that do gain a benefit from weed, like I've heard about from some of you guys' own insertions of stories inside of some of my recent videos. But most people are really just using it as some form of cope that truly isn't making your life better. It's about building better health for future you, better discipline, and making a perspective of yourself so that you can feel and be better at everything in your life. And that comes with things like modern work and self improvement that only you can look into and research and make a better version of yourself from. So, whenever you start telling yourself that you can stop or you can get better, that's whenever things actually start to fall into the actual pieces and the puzzle starts fixing itself. It might seem impossible at first from the outside in, but whenever you, as cliche as it sounds, look into yourself and find who you really are, you start to understand that life isn't terrible and you don't have to fall onto these bad vices to make yourself feel something or at least feel better about yourself. And what can truly help you come to those conclusions are simple questions. Ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? And for what reason? I stopped asking myself what I was consuming and started asking why I felt the need to consume it in the first place. And most of my answers all came to the same conclusion because I was unhappy. Now, did that constant feedback loop of using drugs or being constantly high on nicotine help any of that? Or was it just building another meter that was constantly ticking so that when that timer came, I needed to re indulge in that? Of course not. Consumption isn't going to be fulfillment. For a long time, I thought consuming more would make me happier. Every time I hit that cart, I'd have to hit the nicotine right afterwards. I'd get my highs and then my lows, and then I felt even. And that wasn't helping me at all. More highs and more lows wasn't making me happier. It wasn't making me more entertained or more comfortable. It was just fulfilling my need of some sort of powerful distraction that I didn't actually need. And unfortunately, that can be the comfort that a lot of people fall into. Comfort can become a cage, and the things that make us comfortable today can turn into the chains that hold us back tomorrow. And escaping with all of these problems by using something that makes us feel like we're getting away isn't healing. You can numb your anxiety, you can distract yourself from loneliness, you can escape pain through that, but escaping isn't the same as healing. That's what I had to come to realize. So build more than you consume and heal.